Very warm welcome to you, baby dolls. I have received a large number of requests to go through Richard Hart's tweet here, which talks about his thought experiment, token A+, what's going on, what's he talking about. I'm going to go through, I'm going to replace these for you. We're going to read it together and I'm going to show you it. If you are my friend, please confirm it. You'll know that I did a HEX update, the HEX capitulation video. So God Whale, the biggest HEX actor, single wallet, gave away 800 million HEX to PulseX, which is doing a really dodgy, shady, silver-backed stable coin. Not so good. All right, they're in the poopy town now. Now they want to cash out. But if they cash out HEX, it literally goes to zero. But I'll be honest, I want them. I would love for them to do that. I know they're not going to do that. I know about the founder. This would be the best scenario. If they click sell right now, so they have 8 million. They've got about 800 million HEX. It's worth about 6.4, 6.5 million here. But there's only 2 million on the bid. So if they got out, it literally sends a price 99%. But they only get like $300,000 because of the slippage. It's like ridiculous. And then this just gets bought back up and we continue. It's just this one little rip the band-aid off. But they're not going to do that. Now, if they're not going to do that, they're just going to keep dumping along the way. And it's going to be very annoying, is it? Because, man, they make a lot, friends. Like, if you... Look, this is me, all right? If I was them, they have 800 million. I mean, if you just did rolling 30-day stakes, you are getting, like, 0.008. You're getting 6.4 million every month. Just dump that 6.4 million once a month. It'll get eaten up. But this becomes a big issue because if HEX is trying to get to 50 cents, oh, man, that's going to be a lot of money. Like, where are we going to get $400 million to let these guys get out? That's the unfortunate part. Now that you see where, now that I've built the context, you're like, oh, we need a way for them to cash out. How can we get them to cash out? Well, here comes Richard Hart with his thought experiment, not naming the names, not naming the tickers, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is my interpretation. If you want to hear the proper one, well, you get him to stream and he can explain, all right? So now we have to use Twitter words. So he says, he goes, hey, thought experiment. He goes, token A and token A+. People want to switch from token A to token A+. So it's hint, hint, people want to switch from eHEX to PHEX. Now the PHEX max is going to be like, oh, we are A+. Go, yeah, well, you can revel all you want. I still think that ratio is going to surprise you at some point. So we're going to go back. I'm going to show you here right now. So this is token A, Ethereum, right? This is HEX, sorry, HEX on Ethereum. This is HEX on PulseChain, all right? So what he's saying is people want to switch, all right? So this is the two coins. So remember, so PulseX have 800 million HEX right here. HEX, eHEX. That's what they have right here. And what he's saying is, they want to move over. Now, funny thing is, this could be any coin. This could be PulseChain. This could be PulseX. This could even be a stable coin. This could be any stable coin. I'll just quickly get you a cute little stable coin logo. There we go, on the fly. Look at you. All right, so this could be any of the coins. He just said A+. If they just want to get somewhere else. So let's continue. So he says, token A has a less liquid market. So reading this, token A has a less liquid market and token B has a more liquid market. I think he kind of confuses this with the wording. I think they're meant to be token A and A+. So he says the cells on A, so the cells on eHEX, so the cells here, remember it's super thin. There is only $2 million of liquidity and I'll show you right now. Here it is right now on lookintohex.com. Shout out to Gerardo. We love your website. So it's so cool. Okay. So you can see it right here. I'm going to confirm our friendship in here, right? So you can see the bid and the asks. Look at the bid. There's $2.1 million. That is how much USDC is basically the USD you could get out. That's the only amount you could get out. So yeah, you might have theoretically $1 billion or $100 million in HEX or whatever. No, you don't actually have that. Everybody in the community has to share just a singular $2.1 million pool. So that's the reality of most markets, okay? That's the reality of just how all assets work, all right? So that's why he's talking about here, where he says sells on A will move the price further than the corresponding buys on the PHEX. So he means basically if you're selling, right, if you're selling eHEX with that limited pool, it's doing more damage than if you are able to rotate and buy PHEX here. That's what he's saying here. Okay, well, so I think he's saying, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm saying, see, if this goes down, we get crushed. But what he's saying is this does more damage than if they were to come in here and buy this instead and hop around, because of just how the mechanics are with the liquidity bonding right now. So he's saying sells on A plus move the price less than the corresponding sells on A would. So as you can see, right? So, selling on PHEX will do way less damage than selling on eHEX. And remember, I just showed you the liquidity. You know how it's really thin here? You just got to see the bid. Now remember this is eHEX. The eHEX's bid is 2.1 million. Right, I'm just using a very basic example here to show you. If we go to Dex Screener, you can see the other HEX here. Now, we need to find HEX die. If there is a HEX die, just so we can have a look at the actual HEX pair. Right, I'm going to quickly find it for you. Okay, we don't have an actual HEX die. So what you have to kind of infer is HEX is linked, right? Oh, this is PHEX, mind you. So PHEX is linked to Pulse. You can see it here. See this HEX Pulse, and there is a liquidity tab right here. I'm going to move this for you. You can see this liquidity line. So we're actually going to have a look at the specific one here. There's $40 million here. This is between HEX and Pulse. That's from that yield farm. So if you hopped over to, say if you're trying to sell your PHEX, right, you would hop over to Pulse, and then look at the Pulse die up here. This has a liquidity of $18 million. So if you want to find the bid, you just divide it by 2, because this is adding the buys and the sells waiting on there. So you would have $9 million. So you can see the damage is much less. There's a lot more to absorb if you were to sell the equivalent PHEX, because so that's what he's basically talking about here. And as he continues, right, he says he does an inverse example, and he mentions here as well, he says, in either case, however, sellers outside, basically PulseX or Uniswap, sellers outside can use their much larger supply that isn't in the DEX to discover the price as free markets do, making the volatility less of an issue with a question mark. I don't know why. So he says, here's the final part. He says, this part is important. All right, he says, in either case, however, sellers outside the DEX can use their much larger supply that isn't in the DEX to discover. So effectively, he's basically saying what I think is if this might be warming everyone up to like, hey, the best way to let them out of their 800 million is to do super thick, as much as you can, whatever the market wants, liquidity bonding for eHEX and PHEX. And what happens is if there's, we already had a farm like that. You're probably wondering, shouldn't already be here. Well, maybe he's just making the case. We got to do that. I don't know. It's too cryptic, man. It's too cryptic. Some backstory. We had an eHEX and PHEX farm. We had a farm between these. He took it off because too many people were emergency end staking their eHEX, and he went into capitulation emergency mode himself. And he's like, crap. He pulled all of it, and everybody got destroyed. All right. So if we bring it back, if there is a nice thick farm, what happens is people are providing bids and the offers here. So what would actually be happening is, see this eHEX and PHEX, this would be the liquidity farm. And this would be the liquidity farm. And BankX, if they want to sell to exit, instead of fighting over for this limited $2 million here on eHEX by itself, if they bridged over to PulseChain, all of it, and then they attached, and then they were able to exit through this pool, they would be rotating out of eHEX into PHEX, right? And they'll be extracting more value. So then from that point as well, from that PHEX, remember from this part, see how there's a HEX Pulse liquidity farm with $40 million? What that would then be doing is, I know this is going to be crazy, then that's going to trickle down as well, and that's going to dump into Pulse itself, and then that's going to trickle down and then dump into USDC to let them cash out. So effectively, this is just my guess right now. If they just dumped their $800 million right now, so if BankX dumps 800 million in one go, they send HEX another minus 99.99%. Yeah, it's just like literally they take everything out of the pool, whatever it is, minus 99%. Okay. And by the way, they'd never do this. So they effectively hold everybody hostage. So they would never actually do that. So unfortunately, what this means is like every time HEX went back to like 5 cents, they'll just sell like 20 million every single time, right? And they can do it for a long time, friends, because I just showed you they're earning 6.5 million HEX per month. So think about that damage. That's a lot to keep clobbering every time. We're talking about 5 cents. You think we're going to go to 50 cents with these guys? Oh, man, think about that. If we go to 50 cents, you can't. The liquidity pool is only $50 to $100 million up there. But if at 50 cents, these guys have $400 million, they can literally send that back down 90% in one click, erasing years and years of working up there. So this is right. So this is why. So if we do this, what happened? BankX slowly dumps in the PulseChain ecosystem, effectively getting more bang for buck and distributing their money off through the ratios. So that's effectively what they would be doing to do that. So there is no really win-win situation here. This is just thinking about these scenarios and how they play out. And I'd also like to add, baby dolls, you know there's a coin called PulseX as well. And PulseX has its buy and burn too. So when you have PulseChain, you know when BankX, they're selling from eHEX into PHEX, which then goes into Pulse. There is also PulseX's buy and burn, which is also drifting it up over time to absorb it. So that's another thing that gets added. So effectively, eHEX attaches itself to the whole ecosystem. So this is where I'm going to tell you, this is where things get a bit heated in the community, because now I understand where everybody's coming from. Now I've given you this nice demonstration of what's going on, but effectively, you can easily say this eHEX is the bastard child. It's the black sheep. It's literally weighing everybody down. I understand you're saying that, but this is what I'm telling you now. Everything you spit and slap eHEX for, the PulseChain and PulseX guys are going to do the same to PHEX. All right. That's going to be in the same bucket. I'm going to put a trash can here just to signify. Oh, yeah, there is rubbish. There has to be a rubbish. There has to be. Here we go. Here we go. And there will be this little man here throwing it in the bin. So, yes. So, right now, this is you. Because, remember, I can feel the future. All right? I can feel the future. I'm tingling. I'm tingling down there, if you know what I mean. So, yes, right now, you're all like, eHEX, da, 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 da. That's what you think right now. But in the future, every single argument you say eHEX is a drain on the system. eHEX is for vultures. It does nothing. Ethereum gas fees, etc. So all these just narratives. They're just describing the candle colors, by the way. So all those narratives they're throwing on, I promise you, these beautiful, sexy Cycle 1 coins, PulseChain and PulseX, the community who comes in as they morph and they don't overlap as the people come in, they're going to say, get this piece of trash hexagon out. You're garbage too. Because it's same whales, right? You still have the same big people, the same big sharks. They have PHEX in here too. There are a lot of big accounts, right? They can do these as well. So that's what my warning is to you. I'm not really taking a side here. Yeah, I've been buying eHEX. I'm going to continue to buy eHEX because it's cheap. I don't really care. What's funny is people try to make a funeral video of me. Let me tell you something. I am the last guy in crypto you want to make a funeral video for, or a funeral messages for. Like, I've been through this game before. Prices going down does not scare me. All right? I know the thesis is years away. All right, so here we go. So this is the eHEX versus PHEX ratio. So obviously, when did everybody come? Exactly down here. So with this, all that needs to happen is just go sideways. The LP makes up for it. You never know, man. You never know. People think this is completely written out. It doesn't even have to, right? The fees justifying it over time more than make up for it. By the way, it doesn't even have to ever really get to parity. But when you're looking at it through this lens, I hope you kind of see eventually it's going to be a drain. So yes, eHEX is looked upon badly now, but they're going to do the same thing too, man. They're going to do the same thing too. You just got to have a plan, okay? Everyone's a vulture for everybody. Now that you have multiple coins, it's the same thing. You got to remember, I even have, HEX is like the Bitcoin. It came first. Now PulseChain is like the Ethereum, which is now come. What do the Bitcoin people say with Ethereum? They're like, you're dragging us down. What do the Ethereum people, as Ethereum is overtaking Bitcoin, right? ETH-BTC goes up, it's stabilizing and stuff. What are they saying to Bitcoin now? They're saying, we like Bitcoin, the tech, but the Bitcoin maxis, we hate them, right? Isn't this exactly parallel to what a lot of the PulseChain people are saying. They're like, yes, we love that HEX has native staking, but we hate HEX maxis. They're so annoying. This eHEX, this PHEX stuff, we don't like it. That's exactly what I'm hearing, right? It's very fascinating that we get to see this. I get to share this message with you that, hey, this is exactly the words that are coming out there. So just like Ethereum said that to Bitcoin, PulseChain people are now saying it to HEX. They're like, hey, you are this weird thing. You don't even have a real use case, man. You're not even your own blockchain. You're basically the sap here, right? That's exactly what's going on. Now, what's going to be fascinating is in the next cycle, are we going to see the hot new sexy girl on the block, all right, with a cute wig on? Is it going to come in and eventually one day say that the layer 1 is too slow? That's something to think about. That might not be relevant for HEX and Roach and Hart ecosystem. This might be relevant for Uniswap. So if Uniswap, the DEX, and Ethereum here, right? Uniswap and Ethereum, they will probably, so you have Ethereum here, and then you have Uniswap. So not that you know, I know your friends, you don't know this yet, but they're working on composability. So they're trying to get chains to talk to each other. Now, once it gets solved, guess what? Uniswap doesn't have to live on Ethereum anymore. Uniswap can go be its own chain and everybody talks to Uniswap. And that would be the final real divorce. That would be Uniswap going, hey, thank you, Ethereum. We're actually out. We're going to do our own thing. We got our own token. That would be like, that's the future. That's actually what's coming eventually. But right now, they're still together. They're still like, hey, we're friends, but not really. This is the future of what's coming. So that's why I'm saying, like, even though this fight's going to happen, there's going to be another fight coming between PulseX and PulseChain much, much, much later on. So I hope you see this story and you're like, oh, wow, everything's just a freaking narrative. Everything's a cycle. There's birth. You get a bit older, you become a toddler. Then you get middle age, and then you start to age. Everything's going through this cycle. It's wonderful that I get to see this cycle if we continue to survive. And hey, you learned something today. And something else you learned, you're a baby doll, baby cake, and we are still friends on a Sunday. Like, subscribe, bell button, or tell mum and dad that PHEX and eHEX, it's all right. They can live together. I'll catch you in the next one.